Hi, my name's Daniel Parker. Some people call me Danny. And I wish to explain a very important concept which is super important for this election and our entire lives, which is essentially the reason why people are poor, or why some countries are poor, and some countries and some people in general in society have more wealth. Now, the concept is the concept of the zero sum fallacy. The zero sum fallacy believes or sees the world as a fixed amount of money or wealth in the world, and if somebody becomes wealthy, then that is due to them taking more resource or more money from somebody else because there's a fixed amount of it. Now, in actual fact, in the last 150 years, we've had a rapid increase in the well-being of humanity. Our lives are longer, we have more access to health. Arguably, we live far better lives than the poverty of our ancestors, which was incredibly difficult. Most people starved. Like 200-300 years ago, starvation was the norm. Life expectancy was 30-40 years. But we've improved, and also our ability, our access to resources has increased. And that access to resources, there's a fallacy that access to resources is due to us consuming more raw resources, which is a logical way to thinking. But what's actually happening, and it's happening faster and faster right now, is that society is finding better ways of doing things, becoming more efficient in the ways of doing things. So if you take lighting, for example, in fact, you can point out any consumer good that you can possibly think of. And we have found out better ways of creating it. So LED lights are 90% more energy efficient than the old incandescent lights. So that 90% energy efficiency, and they use a tiny chip, which is far less amount of resources. It's a bit of silica. It's very simple, basic resources that are used for it. So now we have lighting which uses less materials. It uses to run far less materials to like less electricity to run. You got 90% energy savings, and you have a far less amount of raw resources used in the production of this thing. So what that means is now people spend less on electricity when it comes to lighting, and the lights themselves are coming down in price. You might have noticed in the last 10 years, LED lights have come down in price. So it means that value is added into society, and that efficiency gain, that improvement in the way of doing things, allows more wealth to it allows us to do things better. We have more to go around, which can be invested into new technologies and new progress or ideas. Instead of like putting all our energy into getting enough money to be able to pay for the lights and the power, now that has become more efficient and we have more resource to go around. So the fallacy is that it's not a fixed amount of resource. In fact, we are increasing the net amount of available resource in the globe and in New Zealand when we improve the efficiency of the way of doing things. And when we have a business down cycle as we're having right now, then it's very easy to fall into the trap of blaming the wealth, our businesses and things that produce things. They need to work efficiently in order to continue to produce efficient things, to make things better. Our farming industry is getting better. We're improving the way of doing sheep and wool, and improving the way of making, drones or different generating electricity. We're getting better and better and better at generating electricity. The motors we're using, the more we discover the ways of doing things better, the better our economy becomes. So if we fall into the trap of thinking business is evil, it's taking from people, then we fall into the trap of, and if we penalize those things that are producing, adding value, we penalize business, especially our export business, then, or an internal business, then we will all in the long run suffer, because we won't be able to produce as much stuff. We won't be able to be efficient in the way we do it. We will reduce our efficiency and we will become poorer for it. So the trap from the kind of traditional far left idea is the concept that wealth comes from the backs of the poor, where in actual fact wealth is generated through adding value. Hence, it's important to have an enthusiasm for the future, because we're improving in the way we add value and the new technologies that become accessible to us. But also business is essential for as a mechanism for improving the value that reduces the environmental impact. As we find better ways to do things, like with LED lights or smaller, more efficient computers, more efficient automobiles, and so on, we are improving the output and decreasing the resource consumption of things, so that the business world is important. And I just want to sort of explain to people why it's not useful to see in the zero-sum game, but to understand that the world is it's a value add game. How much value can we add? And don't get me wrong, it can be abused. There's plenty of abuse, and there's plenty of times in human nature. Every political system has seen abuse where people will get sort of shafted and the stuff is taken from people, and we want a good legal system to prevent that. And we want it to be as fair as possible. So while it's not perfect, there is a fundamental mechanism or force at work in society, which is the continual adding value. And really the limits are our imagination and physics. And when we get to those limits, which is going to be forever, I don't know, we will continue to improve the world and make it better. And that's why I've switched from left wing voting towards right wing voting, because of this fundamental concept. If like the Greens or Te Pāti Māori, they understood this and understood that you take money from the wealthy and give it to the poor. Why? Fundamentally, to a certain extent you can do that, but it's you need to stimulate enterprise. You need to stimulate efficiency and give people a sense of hope and optimism for the future. But you can't think about it as though they've got more than me. I want some of what they've got. That is a zero-sum game thinking, and that, when implemented in society, will mess us up beyond comprehension. And it's been tried and tested so much in the past. We need to use what works, and what works is leveraging up to make the most of what we have through improving the way we do things. And really it means that the future is great. The future is exciting because of the potential that we're untapping within the person and within technology and the world.